Hybrid Gaming. 3 players with CWL experience coming into the mix here, and 2 others that have a lot of notoriety in the open scene. So why is nobody talking about the potential of Hybrid to win Pool H? I didn't say get through, I said maybe even win. Yeah, it's possible. Had a chance to sit down and talk to Beehzy about this squad, their strengths, and their outlook for world champs in this video of 32 on 32. What up, COD fans? Welcome back. Good to see you guys. The last video. It's the last one. It's the final one. We can't do any more than that. We've already done all 32 teams. This is the very, very last video we'll be doing in this series. And it was a mammoth of a series to do, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. I know some of you guys out there have almost watched every single one of them, and if that's the case, let me know in the comments. If you watched every single video, let me know in the comments, and I'll give you a free subscription to this channel. We've got ourselves ready to go, though, for Hybrid Gaming again, Pool H. It's going to be a difficult one, but I think, again, if there were a team to be able to come in the 4th seed and win a pool, it very well could be this one. As you take a look at it, it's Splice, Heretics, and Aspire in the mix. And yeah, there's some history in this pool, because Hybrid actually had their tournament end at Miami by the hands of Aspire. Was there enough to take away from that? Is this a team that could potentially win not only the pool, but also get a little bit of revenge? I think absolutely yes. But let's take a look at this team more specifically before we dig into our interview with Beehzy. So again, Hybrid Gaming, they finished top 12. Stamino, Spoof, Pander, Beehzy, and Gintroid. 4 players going all the way back to Vegas, 3 of which played at the CWL PLQ. That was Spoof with UIU, Pittsburgh Knights for Pander, and Accelerate for Beehzy. And I think a lot of people forget how good of an AR player Beehzy is, or was, in the CWL. I was actually surprised that he got moved to UIU as a substitute, and they didn't use him as a main AR. I'm still kind of baffled how this guy didn't stay in the CWL for the entirety of the season. He was a really good player. But regardless, that's not what's going to happen here. It was also Disrupt for Stamino, not Stamino. It's Stamino, like stamina, but with an O at the end. He was a top 40 finisher at Vegas with Disrupt, would then get picked up by In Control, where he finished 4th, but it was Cyclone that had Spoof and Pander together. They finished 3rd. Beehzy at Fort Worth was still technically on UIU, so he didn't participate, and Gintroid played with Nemesis for the entirety of his open bracket, up until he got moved, obviously, to Hybrid Gaming for the finals here for CWL Miami. Top 12 finish for him there at Fort Worth. Going to London, Nemesis would actually be representing Stamino, and then it was a Sage performance for Spoof and Pander where they finished top 6. Then you go to Anaheim, it was Mazer for Stamino and Beehzy. That was when they finished 2nd place, and it was a top 16 finish for Sage for Spoof and Pander, and a top 24 for Gintroid. Now, the biggest thing about this pool, I've said, is how good these SMG players are going to be. Spoof and Pander, at least going to Miami, were running main SMGs back then. There have been a couple of swap-ups. Beehzy, we actually will be hearing from him. He's not going to be running main AR anymore, which is interesting because, again, like I just mentioned throughout the intro of this video, he stood out to me as being one of the main AR players from the CWL that really did very, very nicely. You take a look at this Hybrid Gaming team, though, as a whole, as far as what success they were able to find during their time at Miami. They had to go Game 3 versus YSK Esports. I don't know. They had to go 3 versus Nemesis, which, okay, decent opponent. They were able to win that one out. And then they would lose to Team War in the what would be the qualifying round to get to the top 16 for World Championship. So they had to go down to the losers bracket, where they would then have to make a little bit of a run. Not a major run, but a little bit of a run. They had to go through forfeit, and that was a pretty easy 3-0 for them. They were also able to beat Fuego Gaming 3-1 before they would, again, like we mentioned previously, they would lose their tournament in Game 4 versus the side of Aspire. So there's going to be some history there between these two teams. And again, you take a look at this roster, and on paper, this might look like the weakest team on paper, but I think there's a lot of notoriety here and a lot of familiarity with a lot of the players that are kind of been put together for Miami. It just comes down to, are they going to be able to find full value in the 5-man squad, get themselves figured out, and get ready to be prepared for a team like Heretics and Splice? But more importantly, can they correct their mistakes that they faced during their games versus Aspire? Like I mentioned, I had a chance to sit down and talk to Beehzy about this team specifically and some of that preparation that they're trying to put forward going into Miami, rather going into champs. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. We'll catch you at the end of the interview. Joining me now, I've got Beehzy from Hybrid Gaming. Again, a face that I'm sure most of you will be familiar with from his time during the CWL. And it's going to be a very interesting breakdown. We just got done, at least as I'm recording this, talking to the Aspire team of Robbie B. So now I'm interested. You have my attention, Beehzy. I got to get your initial take. You guys are in Pool H. A lot of people have it pegged as being the most difficult pool, the pool of death out there. What were your guys' initial thoughts about your pool that you got drawn and, you know, some of your opponents that you're going to be matching up against?
I honestly like our pool because I feel like our pool is like really stacked, but I don't think there's any like tier 1 teams. Like right now, I think Splice is struggling. I think Heretics is just the like average, you know.
Sure.
Aspire is good, but like on the same level of like, you know what I mean? So I think anybody can honestly win our pool. I don't think there's any like really bad team. I don't think there's any really good team. You know, it's like not like there's 100 thieves in there.
Right,
Or
right.
like that. You know, like Splice, they should be like a top team, but they're just not right. You know.
Yeah, a lot of
And
things
obviously,
going wrong for them at the moment.
yeah. So I'm pretty confident in it. Like, can't complain. Like I've had a lot harder pulls in the past. Like, yeah.
So you guys actually had the chance when you were at Miami to play up against Aspire. It was actually the team that ended your guys' run at top 12 at a 3-1 scoreline. So one of the questions I've been kind of posing to a lot of the other teams that have been in the same boat where they got knocked out by a team that they're actually right back into the pools with is what were you guys able to take away in that set? I know for a lot of you guys, this was, you know, a team that was put together very quickly before Miami. So did you guys really feel like you were in that set for the long run, or did you kind of take that away as a major learning experience when you go into kind of readdressing them this time around for champs?
Well, when we ended up playing Aspire, because like before we ended up making a roster like literally on Monday, right? So like,
Sure.
we went into that series with like 2 days of practice, like 4 sets of scrims, like it obviously didn't go that well, but like the thing that I could take away from it is in both higher points we played against them, we went down 100-0, and we ended up getting like 160 or 80 points both games.
Sure.
So like, I know that like the fact that like we were in the worst state possible, and like if that just doesn't happen, I know we can easily beat them. Like, we won the control against them, like you know how S&D is. Like, I think like if we were able to like compete with them in the state that we were in at that event with so little practice and like how dysfunctional we were, then when we actually play them with champs and we're prepared, like should be a completely different story.
Now, when it comes to preparation as a whole, I mean, a lot of the storylines for a lot of our open bracket teams comes down to using the 3 weeks between Miami and Anaheim just to champs to focus on themselves. It's actually interesting because you've got Spoof and Pander who've been playing the majority of the open brackets together. They were with Cyclone and then with Sage and then obviously with you guys at Hybrid. And with that, you also bring some CWL and during the PLQ, some experience from that. So what kind of leadership role do you feel like the core 3 of you have when you're so co-eccentric when it comes to this title in specific and your professional experience compared to that of Jintroid and Stamino, who have really kind of come to form late into this title?
I think that was actually an issue with our team start. I think it was hard for us to figure out like who was going to be like the in-game leader because
sure.
there was
Yeah.
there was like 3 voices in the team, and so that was complicated at first. Like right now, we pretty much have Casey doing most of the in-game leading, and we ended up moving him to main AR. And like I said, at first it was like really hard, but I think we figured it out, and honestly, it's going pretty well right now with the leadership aspect of the team.
It's interesting that you bring up that I mean, again, it was you that was mostly running the main AR throughout the majority of this title. So when it comes to learning with a new group of people and having the flexibility to say, I'll forfeit up my role, you know, is that a pretty steep learning curve at this stage of the game, or do you still feel pretty comfortable switching back and forth? I assume you're probably running the main Maddox or Flex role at this point then.
Yeah, it was more of a thing where on all my I played a different playstyle on a lot of I've only really been on 2 teams this year because obviously like after the whole pro league thing went down, I basically missed 2 events. Like,
right.
So I only had my major team and my EXG team. We had a playstyle, and the way that I ran main AR just didn't really work with the type of system that we were trying to run on this team. So yeah.
So as far as insight goes, like which specialists are you going to be running? Are you going to stick with the recon, or are you swapping with him and are you playing the Prophet now?
I'm going to keep running recon.
Okay.
Pure.
That's interesting to hear. I nerd out in that kind of stuff, so it's just good to kind of get that inside information. But I kind of want to hit your other two teammates that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about very quickly here. Stamino and Jintroid. Obviously, you had some time to play with Stamino when you guys were on Mazer at Anaheim, and he's been all over the place. You know, he played with Disrupt at the Vegas Open. He played with In Control at Fort Worth. He plays top 12 with Nemesis at London. And then Jintroid, kind of the same story. Some representation from Nemesis, opposite of Stamino. But these are two players that have really been grinding out this title and kind of came to form, you know, a little bit later on in the title. So where did you end up feeling like you guys really made a fit? Was it mostly that relationship that you were able to build with Stamino during your time at Anaheim, or was there something else that kind of clutched up to get these 5 players together?
I mean, the reason that I've like Steve's always been one of my favorites. Like, I ended up playing with him in IW.
Okay.
And we went to an event. We made pool play with him. So like, I always worked pretty well with him. So like, I always knew Steve was good. Like, there's very few players that I actually trust, and Steve was one of them. So like, I knew he was like a a safe pick. Like, I got Steve, and then Jalen was just like, I literally discovered him this year. Like, we were scrimming him every day. He was running around putting me down. So I'm like, one day I'm gonna team with this kid. And when the time came, I decided to grab him. So
one of those things. If you can't beat him, join him. One of those, right?
Yeah, because like, I was like, this kid's just a joke. And then I played him at Miami, or not Miami, Anaheim. And like, he was just getting costed. Like, I could tell he was still good. So like, that's like, at that moment, I'm like, all right, one day I'm gonna play with this.
There it is. You'll love to see it. Well, okay, you guys, again, I'll just kind of wrap things up with a pretty little bow on it. A tough pool going forward. I just got to know off the top of your head, though, which is the team you guys are most worried about, or you're putting the most attention towards when it comes to Pool H?
I don't know. I honestly want to say Aspire.
Fair enough. I mean, there's got to be at least a little bit of chip on the shoulder because they're the team that knocked you guys out. So I mean, you got to be gunning for them a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just like the way they play. Like, our pool is pretty much the passion pit, right? Like,
100%.
And I think those S&Ds against Aspire are gonna be really interesting. I think that's gonna be like a big thing.
Fair enough. Well, I'll definitely keep my eye open for it. Beehzy, thank you so much for joining me. Again, that's Beehzy of Hybrid Gaming, closing things out, and we'll see them in Pool H at Miami. Thanks so much, dude.
No problem, man.
Big shout out to Beehzy. Really awesome guy. Again, when he was on Accelerate, he was like one of the only shining stars of that team, I thought, personally. And the fact that he was moved to UIU as a substitute and then wasn't utilized at all was really puzzling to me. But he will be using a Maddox, so things will change. You know, I can't really tell you enough about watching Beehzy play with the Maddox because he's been playing mostly main AR all the way through, with the exception of like a Seaside or Frequency where he'll pull out a Maddox. But it's going to be interesting, I think, with that change alone. It's going to provide a couple of question marks, but I'm mostly looking at Spoof and Pander to see what they're going to be able to do. Stamino and Jintroid have an opportunity to really prove themselves here, I think, in this team specifically. So I think that this 5-man team absolutely can finish in the top 2 of this pool. I think anybody in this pool can. This pool's wide open. If you come in prepared and you're feeling comfortable, you get your map picks good, you're able to take your opponent's map picks away from them and put them in an uncomfortable spot, I think Splice is beatable. I think Heretics is beatable. I think Aspire is beatable. So for Hybrid, it just comes down to, are they actually able to convert on that opportunity? Only time will tell. And that, my friends, is the end of our 32 on 32. Next video coming up, I will be doing kind of like a announcement video for you guys. As far as some things that are coming in the future for me, this channel, and kind of Call of Duty as a whole, as we take a look at it. Of course, we've got World Champs coming up. More on that as well in this next video. So hopefully you guys are able to tune in for that one. And until it, hopefully we'll catch you guys later. Have yourselves a wonderful one. Keep holding it down. Later, bye-bye.